Welcome back once again to Tennant Talk Smackheads. The maniac Matt Tennant is in the chair, and I hope quarantine season is treating you all well. I hope you're staying safe, I hope you're staying healthy, and I hope you are entertaining yourself by watching some retro wrestling, by listening to some old Union Smack podcasts, which you can find on the channel now, and of course, waiting with bated breath for issue 8 of Tennant Talks. Now, before we get into proceedings, before we crack on with the news, I think it's fair to warn you that some of the stuff you're going to hear is not old, but you'll have probably read upon one or two items of it before. That's because Tennant Talks isn't every 2 weeks like it used to be. I'm doing it every month, I've got other projects on the go, but I am endeavouring to bring you good people, while you're stuck in quarantine, some much needed relief. Giggity. So, without further ado, let's crack on with the main stories of issue 8 of Tennant Talks. Coronavirus is taking its toll everywhere across the wrestling landscape recently, and none more so than on NXT UK. According to Ticketmaster, the NXT UK tapings in Bournemouth on May the 1st and May the 2nd have been cancelled, and there has been no word as of yet on if they will be rescheduled for later in May or even June. Now, this proves WWE a massive problem right now. They have, as we talk, used up all of their material that they recorded in Coventry. I think they might have 1 or 2 episodes worth of material left, but that's it. And after that, they have no NXT UK programming to put out. At least none fresh. There's always a chance of reruns. This, however, could continue for the next 2 months or longer. The next set of tapings after Bournemouth were, and currently still are, scheduled for July the 24th and July the 25th. And they will take place in Glasgow, but would not make air until around about July the 29th or the first week of August. But there could also be a problem with them tapings. You see, because they're scheduled to take place in Scotland, and Scotland have a separate set of quarantine rules from the rest of England, and, a separate set of rules regarding coronavirus altogether, and they're ruled by a different government, let's not forget, they could still be in lockdown come July, even if the rest of the United Kingdom isn't. So, the July tapings, as well as the May tapings, could also be cancelled. If that happens, NXT UK will not be able to tape anything before September. Now, I know what you're thinking. They could rearrange something for June, maybe August, and that's a possibility. But right now, with such a short amount of time and almost no notice, it's very unlikely that an arena is just going to be able to slot them in. Now, the Download Festival, where NXT UK would usually record like 2 months, if not more, of material, that's been cancelled as well. I think that's usually June or August. I can't remember which. I think more June. That will not take place. So, there is a huge chance that the next NXT UK show we see will be Takeover Dublin on October the 25th. Now, there is more coming up about that later in the episode. Now, as I say this, I know a lot of you are sitting there thinking, well, there are other options. One being, WWE could, and it's a possibility that they will, record episodes from the UK Performance Centre. However, our Performance Centre is smaller, it's not as comfortable, it's not as accommodating as the one in America, which means the episodes would look hideous because it's basically a warehouse. It's basically a massive warehouse slash aircraft hangar, and it's designed very much for housing, I would say, no more than 100 people, if not less. So, to be able to kit that out like they have the US Performance Centre and film episodes in an empty arena, that would be a huge task on a budget that NXT UK just don't have right now. And if I'm being honest, it may be the worst thing they can do to the brand. The best thing would be to take a break altogether. If it's a 4-month break into September or even October, then so be it. As me and Travis discussed in a previous episode of Union Smack's NXT UK weekly review, a break of a month, 2 months longer, it would give the roster a chance to completely reset. A chance to look in to overhauling the brand, give it a much needed facelift. It's been on a downward spiral, if we're being honest, quality wise and booking wise. And now they've booked themselves into a corner, they're in a rut, and time to think and explore the depths of their roster may be the lifeline they need. Now, the news that the Bournemouth tapings were cancelled, I only found this out last night, so there is time for everything to change. Should the UK come out of lockdown in the next 3 to 4 weeks, then NXT UK would presumably have time to work something out for the middle of June to record something. However, as of next week, the middle of April, then NXT UK has no fresh material, and so either expect reruns, expect another look back show, just like the one we got this week, or expect absolutely no NXT UK on your television for the foreseeable future. Hot off the presses at time of recording anyway. It'll probably be old news by the time I get this edited and you get to listen to it. However, on April the 11th, Ringside News reported that Raw Women's Champion Becky Lynch has put in a request to WWE management to work NXT UK. Now, we're not talking any old NXT UK show. She's not going to pop up in, I don't know, some horrible little town like Coventry. She's not just going to, do a Finn Balor and have one match on television and disappear again without a storyline. In an interview with the newspaper The Irish Mirror, Becky Lynch stated that she has put in a request to perform specifically at NXT UK Takeover Dublin. While there's no other details available at this point, should this happen, which it most likely will, because let's be honest, they'll give Becky Lynch whatever she wants. She is the female Steve Austin. They don't want to upset her. They want to keep her around for as long as possible. So, should this happen, and I'm taking bets that we will see Becky Lynch in NXT UK in a one-off match in October, then Toni Storm has to be the only opponent Becky Lynch will step in the ring with. She's the only logical choice, because for months now, Toni Storm's been in a storyline where she almost needs championship gold to validate herself and validate her career. We've seen her chase Rhea Ripley for the NXT championship when she came up short at Worlds Collide. We've seen her chase Kaylee Ray and the NXT UK Women's Championship and come up short. And it was all during that feud where she said that the title defines me. I don't know who I am without the championship. It would make perfect sense. What won't make sense, however, is if this match is just thrown on, if it just happens without any explanation. Because, as you heard in our first piece of news, there may be no NXT UK television to promote Dublin or the feuds or the matches. Do I want to see Becky Lynch in NXT UK? I don't think it could hurt at this point. I'm not a big Becky Lynch fan, but I want something more for Toni Storm. You know, she has failed to capture all these championships. She is treading water on the brand. And a Lynch versus Storm match, it could be the occasion, it could be the event that pushes Toni Storm up to NXT or, God forbid, WWE's main roster. I don't think anyone wants to see that for, the sake of Toni Storm's career. But even if it didn't, even if this wasn't the linchpin that, no pun intended, the linchpin that pushed Toni Storm, up, then a loss to Becky Lynch could spark a heel turn. That is a huge possibility and something I would urge NXT UK to look at should Storm not want to, commit to NXT just yet. It would be something, is what I'm trying to get at, because right now, Toni Storm has nothing. And let's be honest, looking at NXT UK's roster, she is the only choice. Everyone else will have roles in and around Takeover. Piper Niven and Kaylee Ray will be battling it out for the NXT UK Women's Championship. And the rest of the women's roster just is not ready. Sadly. Becky Lynch versus Ginny. Becky Lynch versus Nina Samuels. Becky Lynch versus Aoife Valkyrie. Becky Lynch versus Xia Brookside. None of these matches would spark interest, unfortunately. None of these matches are marquee matches. It has to be Toni Storm. And if it isn't Toni Storm, then for me it would be pointless bringing Becky Lynch into NXT UK. We will have more on this story if there's any updates before October, which, I don't expect there to be. But stay tuned to the channel, stay tuned to the Twitter account, and we will update you as soon as any more details become available. NXT UK Takeover Dublin has been officially postponed. The event, which was meant to take place from the 3 Arena in Dublin, Ireland on April the 26th, will now emanate from the same location on October the 25th. Now, it is believed WWE wanted it sooner, but it was the only date the venue had with the coronavirus pandemic, with the uncertainty, and obviously with, other arguably more important bookings for concerts, for, megastars, pop stars, plays, theatre, etc. So all stuff like that. The only date they had available was October the 25th. Refunds are currently being given on anyone who can't make October the 25th. And I did check on Ticketmaster. Many tickets are still available for Takeover Dublin if you want to grab yourself one. Obviously, Union Smack will not be attending Takeover Dublin, that I know of just yet, because Ireland is such a way away, and I would have to take a plane to get there. However, if there are tickets still available, and, travel plans are fine, and I can find somewhere nice to stay, then possibly. We might possibly attend, depending on funds, and depending on the situation. Over the Top Wrestling are just one of the many independent promotions around the United Kingdom, Ireland, Scotland, that have been forced to reschedule several of their bigger events due to the coronavirus pandemic. And I know you're probably getting as bored as I am of hearing it and saying it. In addition to their annual Scrappermania event being cancelled in March, it has been announced by the group that OTT Homecoming 3 will now take place on August the 15th from the WIT Arena, and OTT Banjaxed 2 will take place 24 hours later from the Europa in Belfast, Northern Ireland. Promotions like Over the Top Wrestling and Progress Wrestling, to name, just two out of many, they've been the hardest hit in these uncertain times. Among wrestling promotions, obviously, not among people like us who have no work and money. But as far as wrestling promotions go, they have been the hardest hit. They've had to cancel shows. They've lost an awful lot of revenue. So, if you have the cash, if you have any spare money, do what you can to support them. Buy their merchandise, subscribe to their on-demand services, because it would be a bloody shame if it came about that we would have to lose some of the lifeblood of British independent wrestling. After being forced to cancel their tour of Tampa over WrestleMania weekend, Chapter 104, Jeff Goldblum's Fly Machine, and Chapter 105, Midweek Matters 2, Progress Wrestling have hit back hard and announced several new shows for the summer. Now, these shows will see Progress teaming up with Defy Wrestling and PCW Ultra for a tour called the Spirit of Independence Tour, which will visit Los Angeles, California on July the 30th, Seattle, Washington on July the 31st and August the 1st, and Portland, Oregon on August the 2nd. Now, the poster features both Cara Noir, who is the current Progress World Heavyweight Champion, and MLW's Alexander Hammerstone. It's not been announced who else will be there yet, what matches will take place, but it's going to be a mixture of Progress versus Defy versus PCW Ultra, and I am very interested and excited to see how this comes about. If you can get to the shows in Los Angeles and Seattle and Portland, and it is safe and okay to do so, and we're not all in lockdown again, then do come out to support all three promotions, because obviously in these ridiculous times, they're going to need your help. British wrestling legend Martyn Kirby. And if you don't know who he is, shame on all of you. Go and look him up and then come back and listen to this bit of news. Martyn Kirby has announced that he has decided to retire after 14 years in the ring. Now, Kirby is a former WCPW/Defiant World Champion, Rev Pro Undisputed British Tag Team Champion, RDW Wrestling Heavyweight Champion, IPW UK Tag Team Champion, Defiant Internet Champion, and the list goes on and on and on. He fought his final match on March the 1st, 2020 for Dragon Gate, when he teamed with Gamma, Masaka Mochizuki, and Ryo Sato in a loss to Team Dragon Gate in Osaka, Japan. And honestly, this is a big blow to British independent wrestling. It's a shame that he's decided to step away so soon, because Martyn Kirby was one of them names that I thought we would see in NXT UK at some point before the end of this year. He'd done everything on the independents. He'd held every championship you could possibly imagine. And the only thing left for him, realistically, was to come to NXT UK and do what he did so brilliantly on the independents there. That isn't going to happen anymore. But Kirby would have been an excellent NXT UK champion. He'd have been an excellent addition to the roster. And I'd just like to take this moment to say thank you to Martyn Kirby for all his sacrifices, for his years of entertainment, and for being one of the most solid, most dependable, most entertaining wrestlers on the British independent circuit for the last 14 years. He has helped numerous upstarts like Pete Dunne, like Ligero. The list goes on and on to get noticed on the main stage. And thank you, Martyn. Do go and check out his work on YouTube. If you can find a Martyn Kirby match, they're out there. They're well worth the time. So go and watch one and marvel in his brilliance. And that is all we have time for, Smackheads, on episode 8 of Tennant Talks. Thank you once again for joining me. I hope I brought you a tiny bit of entertainment, enjoyment, ecstasy, whatever you prefer to label it, whatever's your poison. In these tough times, I know most of us are locked up indoors. I know most of us are getting cabin fever. I know I am. It's boring, but if I can make one person smile, if I can make 20 minutes of your life pass with ease, then it is all worth it in the end. Do not forget, episode 9 of Tennant Talks will be coming your way soon. I am working on a few other projects right now. I've got a few ideas in the pipeline for another book. I am working on a script that I started years ago. It didn't get anywhere, but now I've got the time to, sit and rewrite it properly and come up with new ideas for. I am doing that, but as soon as I have a little bit of time free, then issue 9 will be winging its way to you. Do not forget to stick with the channel, to stick with Travis for shows like Hibiki High Spots, Hibiki Quickie, Hibiki Pro, though he hasn't done that in a while. I think he might be bringing it back. Hibiki Honours, and all your other Hibiki goodness, as well as the Union Smack podcast, where you can check out our weekly NXT UK review. If we have to put that on hold for a few weeks or a few months, then there are plenty of shows and reviews for you to go back and listen to in the archive. We will bring you retro reviews while NXT UK is off the air. We will do our best to fill your time. So do stick with us. Once again, thank you for watching. Log on to unionsmack.bigcartel.com now. Get your official merchandise. There will be more coming for summer. Go to completelynovel.com where you can purchase a copy of my Undertaker book, A Trip Down Death Valley. And I will see you again very soon. Stay well, stay inside, stay healthy, stay safe. Until next time, Smackheads, good luck, good night, and goodbye.